Hello, my name is Annalie Carruthers, and I am the organizer of the Toyin Falola interviews. Welcome. In this series, Dr. Falola, globally renowned scholar and professor, will interview scholars and policymakers whose work and research are particularly relevant for the African continent and its peoples, including the diaspora. Dr. Falola will also discuss the scholars' most recent books with them. The ultimate goal in this series is to promote the work of great minds and to spread knowledge to the general public about current intellectual projects that these great minds are pursuing. Research themes can include, but are not limited to, the following: African affairs, African migration, religion, culture, intellectual history, development issues, theories, women's rights, disability rights, post-colonial society in Africa and other parts of the global South, and globalization. These discussions will be recorded over Zoom, and these recordings will be distributed on the Toyin Falola Network Facebook page, Twitter, and website. Thank you very much for joining us, and we hope that you enjoy.
Thank you very much for participating in this section. For now, Sarah and Maria are done, and I will be coming on to speak now. So, hello everybody, my name is Obina Akahara, and I'm a producer here with the Toyin Falola interviews. And this is just a continuation of the student section, or I guess the young people section, so to speak. What I'm going to be doing is taking some questions from the audience, but also adding in some of my own questions too, to kind of interrogate some of the things that you've already said and some ideas that you guys have posed in the interviews so far, and also just in general. And I think the first one I'd like to start off with is from Miss Bimbola Adelekun, and this one is for Nathan actually. She says, photos are an incredible motivating factor in protests. They can easily mobilize people and speak to us with an immediacy and that trounces long speeches, right? She wants to know, how do you go about taking your pictures and what inspires you whenever you're doing that, especially in the moment? What do you do?
I feel with photography and any form of media, it's all storytelling. It's with photojournalism too, it's all storytelling, and you have to control the narrative yourself also. Every time I was out there, no matter what I was doing, even if I wasn't physically, there were a lot of times my camera fell down, but I'm going live and taking pictures at the same time. But I feel that I have a duty to carry what is going on out there to people who are not able to see it firsthand. And if I'm not taking pictures personally, right, where I feel like I know that I'm in the heat of everything and my voice might not be heard, but I know like what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing out there would be seen. I have to think about it in carrying the truest form of what is going out there, and out there a lot of the times I had issues with a lot of media houses that will come and try to interview people, and they take the footage back and edit it and make it to fit a certain narrative, and what really annoyed me was one of the first times we were protesting, I think a certain news channel that I'm not going to mention, put the protest under entertainment, right, which was such a mind-boggling thing to even think about. And this was when the protest was first beginning, and from that day I told myself that if anybody wants to find out about the protest, if you're a news person or you work with the media, go live. Everybody's getting that information real time. You all have platforms where you can go live and show people what's actually going on out there. Don't take videos, mix people's words up and make them sound like something that they're not. That's on the side of video. But pictures, I feel like you have to be present in what is going on, but at the same time looking for those moments within the process, or looking for those moments within the madness that would speak to emotions for a lot of people. Like the photo of Aisha, I came across that photo and I met the photographer by chance because I was taking pictures. And we all start talking about how, being out there, it's a risk for us too with our equipment. It's a risk for us to running and carrying things at the same time too. So, but we understand that we have a duty as people who take pictures, who tell stories, to carry that truest form of what's going out there, because we will not allow anybody else to control our narrative.
Thank you. And I like to say for this section, some of the questions might be blunt, but I'll try my best. So I think this one is for both of you, and I guess I should pose it to Ms. Aisha first. In summary, what's next, right? These protests, like you said, have been going on for a long time, and they really picked up coming in October, right? But after the incident at Lekki Tollgate and a lot more violence that the government has, I guess, imposed on the Nigerian people, what do you think is next? Where do you think things are going to go? Do you think people still have that motivation now that their lives are on the line?
Well, the thing is that people's lives have always been on the line. I mean, it's just that the thing with Nigerians is that we look the other way when things are happening in Nigeria. In December 2015, the military opened fire on Shiites in Zaria and killed over 700 citizens. I mean, people looked the other way. Some people even defended the military. IPOB over the years have been killed repeatedly. Military have opened fires on them and killed them, but people looked the other way. Death has been going on all the time. So it's not that this is not the first time. The police have killed protesters a lot of times. I remember Precious, who works with channels, a young journalist, was killed in one of the protests, the Shiite protests. So all of this have been going on. So when people look at it and say that, oh, now that government have done this, people wouldn't talk. No, that's not it, because it is that you either killed under the cover of darkness or you're killed in broad daylight. That's where we are at now. What next is for people to become more active. What next is for people to begin to look at politics. What next is for people to begin to participate in governance. Silence is not an option. And like I would personally always say, they don't have enough bullets for all of us. And when they're talking about this, let people speak. What we have is that people think that they have the patent to prayers. So when they pray, it's never going to be their turn. But guess what? The last victim also prayed, but it didn't stop it from being that victim's turn. And the victim card is going all around. And it doesn't make sense. And I always say to people, those who have been killed will not be killed again. The next to be killed are those of us that are alive. So it is in our own interest to ensure that we speak against this injustice. We put a stop to it. We begin to find ways to ensure that we have sustainability in the kind of society that we want. A society where the rights of everyone is respected, in the society where people don't have to beg for them to be. And the things that we need to do right now at this moment is that we need to start taking interest.
But Nathan, actually, I think this is probably a good time for you. Like, what do you think is going to happen? Try and get it on.
Just to piggyback off of what Aisha said, and I feel that what's next is a question that's being asked, and there's no one answer for that. I think everybody right now has a different vision of what they want for Nigeria, and I feel that if you ask me, it'd be a different answer than what somebody else who's my age or who's been out there is, because as much as all these problems affect us, all as a whole, it affects everybody differently. I think for me, in the short term, the victims, I think there's a reason we started this protest. And I feel that at some point, some form of justice needs to happen to prove to people and let people know that we can and we should hold perpetrators accountable for their actions, especially people who are meant to protect and serve, and make sure that the justice served to them is a lesson to anybody else who wants to put that uniform on to protect and serve the citizens, and know that you cannot take the law into your hands. And like Aisha said, a lot of us are, some people say that some people in Nigeria are already dead. Some people are walking, corpses already, because healthcare is bad. People are suffering from people live on less than 300 naira a day. Bad roads are killing people. So we're fighting, and like Aisha said, the people who've died already are not going to die again. And if we don't do something right now, the cycle it's going to continue. And granted, I feel right now we have to look to other means, like we've talked about already, with sensitization and empowering people and education and looking into good governance and like whatnot. But also, I think process is always going to be important in amplifying what is actually going on at the moment in any form of any issues that are going on. It's always going to be important in letting people know, hey, in case you were sleeping, this is what is going on right now. But as that's going on, I think all these other things that we've talked about earlier, are things that need to happen. But in the short term, for me personally, I feel like, the victims are something that I personally hold dear to my heart, because I personally haven't even processed all that's gone on through the protest, of all the days that I was there when people were attacked, that my trousers were bloody, that days where I had to run for my own life. I haven't personally processed that, because I feel that the victims need to have some form of justice, because it doesn't make any sense to me where, for me personally, and this is me speaking as Nathan Shine, I could go about my life knowing that people have died, have families, brothers, sisters, mothers, fathers, kids, that they have to live without their loved one right now. And the government hasn't done anything in any way to show any remorse for what has happened. And people still have not been brought to justice. It does not sit right with me. So personally, right now for me, in the short term, I'm working on ways to see how we can amplify and put pressure on the government to let them know that, look, if this doesn't happen, we're going to keep applying pressure till we see some form of change, or some form of even, oh yeah, we've heard you, let's start doing, because people are still sitting in cells for offenses that they never committed, and we have not even dealt with that yet. So I feel that the issues in the short term we have to deal with as much as we have to do all these other things, for me personally.
Yeah, you guys, thank you very much. I'm going to have to ask a few more questions quite quickly, because we're running out of time. I want to go back to one of the early questions that we had, and this is from Ms. Aisha once again. You said that you grew up in the North, right? And you already touched on this. Women's rights in northern Nigeria are not, well, they're very bad, in my opinion. That's what I would say. What do you think can be done to help empower women in the North, or just to change some of the ways that women's rights are viewed? Also, what's your opinion on it first, actually?
I didn't get the question. I thought I just heard something about women's rights and the North.
Oh yes, sorry. Let me try again.
What's the question precisely?
So, what do you think can be done to help improve women's rights in the North, or to change the perception of women in the North?
What needs to be done is education, nothing more. It's to first of all ensure that there's education, both Islamic education and Western education. And one of the things that a whole lot of people have used to hold women down is that because a lot of women aren't educated, so they just tell them what it is about what Islam has said or what the Quran has said, which actually isn't right. And I remember someone on Twitter, just saying to me, "Oh, Aisha, you are a disgrace to Islam. You're here, you're protesting, you're doing this, you're doing that." And I said to him, "Well, the Islam that I am part of is the Islam where women went to war with their men and they fought side to side with men." And then he comes to say to me, "Oh, those ones they had, how did he even put it, that they had good motive." So first of all, if he was talking about different, until he realized that I have a knowledge of that also. So I think basically it's knowing education is very important, and that's why we have a lot of issue where a lot of people aren't they don't allow the girls to get that education, and then also financial independence, which is also very important, because we find out that a lot of women that don't have work, don't have their own means of taking care of themselves, so they are always dependent on people. Sometimes when they are married, on their husbands, and when these husbands get tired of them, they drive them away to marry younger girls, and then they are just left left on their own, and they're forced to move on to get married again because they can't take care of themselves. And then most times this husbands that they marry don't want their children. So it's an unending generational poverty that is being put together, being recycled all the time. And we need to understand that abuses are always, sort of like power-based. When they think somebody has nothing, and they will keep suppressing the right. So there's a need, like I said earlier, I think the main thing is for education. Let girls be in school, let them finish their education, and there should be legislation on stopping the early marriage. And I see a lot of people will say, oh, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he married Aisha when she was quite young, and they use that as an example. That's the prophet, that's not you. And we have to look at the fact that the prophet, even she was the only one that he married as a maiden. All the other wives he married were either already married before divorcees or end of that. His first wife was about 15 years older than him, and they were together. She was the one that gave birth to his children, and when she died, before he started having other women, and each of them came with a particular reason why he was married. That he's the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam had about 9 wives, but the limitation is 4. So when they use that as the excuse, it's not at all. I always say that, have you married women older than you first before doing this? And of course, education in Islam is compulsory, both for the male child and also for the female child. There's no discrimination in Islam. But because we have a patriarchal society, we have people who, when it comes to the suppression, they always want to suppress women's rights. They will use the culture over that and then say that, oh, it's religion. No, it isn't. And I think we need to do more with the education of our girls.
Yeah.
So let me follow up on that education question. One or two of you here will know about what I want to talk about. I spent a lot of time in trying to create a university for women in the North. In fact, I went as far as the Sultan, who adopted the idea, who accepted it. I did more. I went to the president of Carnegie, and I went to Aga Khan. And one of them, they said, okay, it's going to be free. They will fund it. And now the depressing part. The Sultan agreed, but many of his chiefs said, no, no, no. And the rest, I can't put on video. I'm just telling you how, and one of you is here in this, I've seen the person here, join me in one trip to talk about women issues. And you can see that those resistant forces, they remain. And I kept asking myself, which is going to be my question. I can understand traditional ideas. I can understand ideas 100 years ago. I'm an historian, I understand them. But what I do not understand is, why do these ideas just refuse to persist? That's what I keep saying. I'm not even talking about modernity. I'm not talking about cosmopolitanism. I'm talking about just something, it should be very, because when I was presenting the argument, I wasn't presenting them as a revolution. I was just saying, okay, but they bring back the other argument of control. Okay, if the woman becomes a doctor, is she not going to get back to the household? And you just said, these arguments that are clear to me, just as they are clear to you, they're so difficult to sell.
Okay. Okay. So
just to add real quick, Aisha. So
okay.
Just to add real quick, I think to what Prophet said and what you've said, I think representation is very important. I think more than anything, I feel that, right now we need more female leadership. And like Prof said, there are reasons why, a lot of the patriarchy don't want, women to be fully educated, don't want them to go about having, the same kind of jobs that men do, because there's a fear also, like because of culture, that the woman would not come back to the house, which is is a notion and a concept that's like, to me right now, is completely benign, because things have changed, culture has changed, and we can't keep living that like we're back in the Stone Age. You know, like we can't keep living that like, you know, progress hasn't happened, you know, for the past couple of years. So representation is very, very important in all of this, you know, that's being said too.
Absolutely. Nathan, that's spot on. A representation is very important. I mean, it's only women that will be able to actually talk about the women problem. I remember when the equality bill was taken to the National Assembly, it was thrown out, and what were women simply asking? I mean, they want to also be able to inherit. They just want just a right to be treated as human beings. And then the National Assembly, of course, threw that out. They couldn't understand it. Another thing, beyond, I think one of the things I would say to Prof, the people you spoke to, you had the meeting with, both the Sultan and then the chiefs and everything. If you find out from them, their daughters are in school. Their daughters have gone to school, not just the best of schools, not just in Nigeria, but the best of schools also outside of Nigeria. So all of this has nothing to do with their own daughters, whom they have given the best of education and they have given them life. But what happens is the daughters of the poor people, the general, this thing. And the reason is very simple. If the status quo today favors them, the illiteracy in the North is an asset. An asset, where is this? Why is it an asset? It's a political tool to perpetuate themselves in power. It's the political tool that they will be able to use to declare who becomes president, whether it's not from the North, but whoever it is, they have a role. It gives that number. So for you bringing this idea, to you, it might not be a revolutionary idea. To you, Prof, it might be, oh, this is the right thing to do. But what you're bringing is that you're going to take away the power that they have, the assets that they have used years to build. What happens with when women are educated, they're able to have control over their lives. They're not going to be easy tool that people will drive out of their house, even if they are driven away from their houses. They have the means of livelihood to take care of themselves and also their children. But if they have education, that's what happens, right? So without education, there are toys that can be used. Somebody marries them at very early age, 12, 13, 14, 15, they're married. By 25, they have lots of children, maybe probably 10. The person sent them away with the children. They don't have option rather than to get married again. By the time they marry another person, the person doesn't want the children to come home. Guess where the children end up? They end up in the streets. And I grew up in the ghetto of Kano. I grew up with most of those children who were sent in to come and do Almajiri, to come and learn from Somalis. And they end up doing what? They end up not learning, having Islamic education. They don't have Western education. They never learn a trade. They are just there. And let me paint a picture for you. They become young adults, teenagers and young adults who have no life, no job, no trade, nothing. They're just waiting for the next riot. I grew up with them where someone will borrow money from another person and just simply say to you, I'm going to pay you when the next riot happens. They live for riots because what happens is that when they have a weapon, that's when for the first time, people look at them with respect. People look at them like human beings. Other than that, they're seen as dregs of society. So and these are the people that are used as bandits. These are the people that you just tell them, oh, come and vote somebody. This is it. They will whip up sentiments. I mean, we saw where northern governors recently had a meeting and they had a communique. And in that communique, they thanked the northern religious rulers and northern traditional rulers for the role they played in the EndSARS protest by whipping up sentiments, religious and ethnic sentiments. They were so brazen as to actually have that written in black and white. So when you bring all this issue of education, it's going to take away that power and asset that they have. There's something that I always say to people, look at, with women, when women are empowered, it's amazing. It's the whole family that is empowered. And I say to people, look at the southern part of Nigeria. And maybe the scholars amongst here will take that. That's one study that I would really love to sit down and actually do it, even though I just say it on looking at it. Is that if you look at the southern part of Nigeria, there are less children on the streets than there are in the northern part of Nigeria. Why? It's all because of the women. The women in the southern part of Nigeria, they work hard. They can go to market. They are the ones who are doing all sorts of jobs. They will do all manner of jobs, odd jobs, trading. And so even if their husbands are not able to take care of the children, they take it on. And I said to people, if you check a lot of people who have gone to either school, university, you see the huge role that parents, that these mothers played in ensuring that the children went to school. But you come to the northern part of the country where the women are not even allowed to trade. A good number of them, even when they have jobs, but maybe they are divorced, they have businesses, they are trading. The moment they get married, they are denied from doing that. And then what happens when the children are thrown away? They can't take care of the children. Children end up in the street. They are forced to marry. I used to wonder, before growing up, it used to annoy me. I'm like, why do these people jump from marriage to marriage? I mean, somebody just got divorced 3 months, because there's a waiting period in Islam that a woman stays, which is about 3 months, 3 menstrual period, months when she stayed before getting married. And immediately they finish that, they will get married. So it used to annoy me as a child growing up. I got into when I was a young adult and a mother and everything, I realized that the reason why they were doing that was because they didn't have the economic capacity to take care of themselves. So they have to move immediately to another marriage for them to be taken care of. Thank you, Prof. I don't know whether that answered the question.
Yes, that's
anyway.
Good.
Yeah, so we've kind of run over time now. So I don't know if let's spend 5 more
minutes. Let's crave the indulgence of because they're tired now. But let's 5 more minutes.
So the last thing.
See any good question? Just post it.
Yes. So the last question that I've had from people is sorry everyone, by the way, I can't get all the questions, but this one I think has come up a lot, right? And it ties back into the one I asked previously, and also what Nathan said, right? What can people do to change the polity right now, right? What can people, and the government right now is trying to push the anti-social media bill, which is, which I don't know what your opinions on it, but it's kind of stripping the people of their voice. So what can people do to change the polity? What can the diaspora do to help change the polity or the politics of the country? Unfortunately, people have already died. Yes, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. So for me, I think one of the biggest things that people can do, especially, let me start from Nigerians in Nigeria, is the fact that we need to start building bridges. We need to build bridges across people. There are so many people who are not educated. And I always say that, look, the education that we have is not for us alone. It's for millions of others who didn't have the opportunity to be educated. And so we need to begin to speak to them, not in a condescending manner or a patronizing manner, but coming down and sitting and having a conversation with them on what is happening. We need to teach them about governance. We need to get empowered electorate, and every one of us will become that teacher where we are sharing this little knowledge for them to understand the relationship between governance and their lives. I mean, there's a woman in the market who says who has worked all her life, able to get her children to university, but they don't have jobs, and she thinks it's an enemy. No, it's not the enemy. You need to explain to her that it's all about governance. It's because the economy is contracting. The shops, there are no enabling environments for businesses to thrive, and the businesses are closing down. New ones aren't opening. The jobs will be few, and they will get it. So it is not enemies. It is not a spiritual thing or the other. These are some of the explanations we need to do. So there's a need to get people educated. Sit with that person who is a security man at your gate. Talk to the person and just enlighten them. Let's begin to make that an issue so that people understand the power of that they have, and that, be collecting 5,000 naira or 2,000 naira at the end of the day won't be what will solve the problem. And also looking for a way of empowering people in a way that they can be able to have a life of their own. It's not going to be easy, but we just have to find a way of doing that. In the case of Nigerians in diaspora, one of the things that I have consistently asked is the question, what are Nigerians in diaspora doing to have political power? Nigerians in diaspora contribute to the economy of our country. I think about 4 or more % of GDP is contributed by the Nigerians.
About $25 billion.
About 20-something $billion you remit back home every year. That's a huge economic power. But then contribution. But then when it comes to politics, you're helpless. helpless in a way. So there is a need for Nigerians in diaspora to begin to agitate to be able to vote. You have millions, we have millions of Nigeria out there, and these millions can actually shape. I think they are talking about 10 million Nigerians in diaspora. They can shape the election. With what today who win the presidency, the last time was about 15 million votes. You can shape the election. You have you have power of influence. The people that you send money back home to, you can influence the decisions they make. You can talk to them. You can educate them and let them know, because it doesn't make any sense for them not to hold their government responsible and for all the problem to be put on you. Somebody is coming to ask you to pay for their children's school fees. You wouldn't need to pay children's school fees if we had good quality, free, good quality education, primary and secondary school. You wouldn't need to pay for healthcare if we had good hospitals where people can get treated. So there's a need to begin to do that and use that power of influence to educate the people. And then this influence that you have, if they know your direction, in political direction, most of the people you have, whether they're in the villages, wherever, they will listen. And these are some of the things that need to be done. Most importantly, also, is for them to engage the countries they are in, to engage the government, to engage their parliament, to engage their Senate, House of Rep, in terms of all these, their foreign policies, to focus on Nigeria and let them talk about the issues that are happening in Nigeria, most especially with this police brutality. One of the things that normally happens, sadly, is the fact that the Nigerian government does not care about the Nigerian voices, but it cares more about the voices coming from outside, because for them it's all about the optics. They want to look good. And so when we have voices from outside speaking on issues, they take it on. So they have, and one other thing I forgot to mention, of course, is that if Nigerians in diasporas have capacity to vote, they will not be threatened. They will not use talks on them. They cannot use come and buy their votes with 5,000 naira. And then, of course, they are all known. Their numbers are there. So that will really shape what is going on. I just see a question that keeps repeating itself, where they are talking about fear of whether we are not scared for our lives. Well, the thing is that I was less than 10 years old when I said to myself, the worst thing any human being can do to me is to kill me. And that is not the worst thing anyway, since I'm going to die. So for me, I live by that. And for me, death is not when I can no longer breathe in oxygen and breathe out carbon dioxide. Death for me would be when, in the face of injustice, tyranny, oppression, I'm unable to speak because I'm afraid to die. That for me would really be death. There has been, of course, recently there have been many calls for me to be killed, most especially in the north, where they say I'm anti-Islam, I'm this and that. It is what it is. And I always believe that those who have died before, we are not better than them that they died. And at the end of the day, we will die one day. I'm a Muslim, and I believe that the day I'm going to die is the day I'm going to die. Nobody is going to change that sooner or later. And if somebody feels that they're going to put a bullet through my head, well, that's their own personal business. I would rather die standing with my voice, a bullet in my head, than to die a coward where somebody will just call me. I'll be a sitting duck and somebody will just kill me. Thank you.
Well, let me call on some of our guests to thank Nathan and Aisha for us. Professor Tibor, Bridget Tibor, can you thank them? You can make a few comments. Can you unmute her, please, so that she can thank our guests for us? She has 2 comments or 1.
Good afternoon, everyone, or good evening, wherever you are. This has been a wonderful experience and pleasure to have both Aisha and Nathan on this platform. We have been inspired by you, and we really want to thank and appreciate you for all what you're doing and for the risk you're taking to speak for the underdogs, to make sure that your voices be heard, to make sure that the grievances of regular poor people who don't have access can be heard. And we want to commend you for doing the right thing. And we know that with people like you talking on behalf of everyone else, with the photographs that Nathan has been posting and all the activism that you both channel, there is hope, after all, for Africa. And I'm definitely going to be using some of your clips in my classrooms for young students here at the University of Massachusetts in Dartmouth. So thank you so much. And thanks, Professor Falola, for putting together this wonderful conversation and interview. Thank you. Hopefully we'll be meeting again. Thank you so much, Nathan. Thank you, Aisha.
Professor, thank you. Professor Akachi Ezegbo, one word from you, please. Professor Ezegbo, can you unmute her, please? Is she there?
I believe so. Please, could you quiz her name again?
AKACHI.
Yes. Sorry, she's coming on, I believe. Oh, sorry, I don't think I'm able to reach her at the moment.
You're not able to reach her?
Yes.
Dr. Cyril Obi, are you there?
Oh, sorry. I think
she's back. Akachi is back.
Let me see. No, I don't think so.
Okay.
It says we have to ask her to unmute.
Yes. Mr. Cyril Obi is here.
Okay.
Yes.
Professor Cyril Obi, you want to thank them for us and make some comments?
Well, thank you very much, Professor Falola. This has been a fantastic event. I want to register my appreciation to Aisha and Nathan, and also all the participants, and to your students and everybody that has been part of this hugely successful event. I have learned a lot. I have really learned a lot from the interactions here, and it's given me hope for the future of Nigeria. I just want to say something about public education, and I would like to have Aisha's reflections on what is the state of public education in Nigeria, particularly higher education. The universities, the public universities have been closed for months. What is your vision of a kind of public education that would truly serve the vision of the Nigeria that you have? Thank you so much, Professor Falola, once more, for putting this great event, and trust that I'm going to be one of your very regular viewers of the Toyin Falola interview series. This is fantastic. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you. Well,
can I go ahead?
Go ahead. I thought
okay.
I thought we won't ask you to answer questions anymore, but go ahead.
No problem. It's okay. I'm good with that. Thank you so much. For me, I have great passion for education, honestly, because the only reason why I'm sitting here today is because of the education that I had. And that basically was my secondary school education. Primary school, I went to a public school. I started at public secondary school, and then because I was such a sickly child, it was a boarding school. My parents taught, and then I left there, and I came down. I was in Form 2, and I came to a private secondary school where I started from Form 1, and that school was at the Bayero University Staff Secondary School. So we were the pioneers. And if you were to see me with my siblings, there's a huge difference. And what that difference simply is, I ended up going to BUK, where I had my BSc in microbiology. The difference is in the secondary school that I had, secondary school education that I had. When I finished from the secondary school, when I left the secondary school, my government secondary school, I couldn't speak English very well. I remember being in BUK South Secondary School, and they would make fun of me because I couldn't speak English. And the first essay we wrote, I didn't know my punctuation, I didn't know full stop, I didn't know paragraph, I knew nothing. I just, put something out there. But meanwhile, from the secondary school, government secondary school I was coming from, I was like the star student. And there was a term that we only did 4 subjects. Hausa, IRK, economics, and I can't remember what the 4th one. It definitely wasn't maths and English were included, a whole term. These were 4 subjects that we did. And so for me, that passion for education has always been there. From one that they made fun of for not being able to speak English, to the extent that by the time, when they laugh at me, I would just say to them, okay, when they're done with laughing, what's the right way to speak it? And even up to today, there are so many words that I don't know how to pronounce. I can write them, but I just avoid them. When I'm speaking, I'll use the words I can use, because of course, growing up, I didn't have TV to see all of this. There's a reason why I'm giving all of this background, context of the answer I'm coming to. And so I finished secondary school. Today, I'm sitting down here. It's just because of education. Education is the leveler. When you're poor, you're able to get to school. You can aspire to be anywhere and everywhere. And today we have a problem. In the last over 10, 15 years, I've been saying that, look, the rate at which Nigeria is going, we'll get to a place whereby it is only government that will be employing people from the private university, and from the public university. And I think we're already getting there. First of all, it started with NUT. What is happening to us today started with NUT, the Nigerian Union of Teachers, for the public primary and secondary school. They will go on strike and nobody will be bothered. They will stay over a year. Nobody will care. Why? Because it's only children of the poor that are in public schools. Every other person, no matter how bad it is, they found a way to be in private schools. No matter how the private schools are not that good, they will do something. Today, our universities have been closed for about over 10 months, and there's no end in sight. Meanwhile, the private universities are going on. And the private universities, only those who have the economic power that can pay for them. And then we have others, our children are abroad, they are out of the country. So what we have to do going forward, for me, I have always said, the Nigerian government should take its hands off university education. The focus should be on primary and secondary school education. Let universities truly be autonomous. You cannot say that universities are saying, Nigerian universities are saying they want to be autonomous. They are autonomous, but they don't want to be financially independent. They don't want to have that financial autonomy. You cannot have a situation whereby the focus is not on, I always say, and I might be wrong, the professors are always correct me, the primary and secondary school education is the one that is most important. It's the one that, at least, for the nation, we need everybody to have good quality basic education, primary, secondary school. University, yes, some might decide they want to go to university, some might decide they want to go to do other things beyond going to university, because at the stage of the university, you are specializing. So if instead of government focusing and have just left the primary and secondary school education to local government that is almost non-existent, and then you have people, they come up and you expect them to be in these universities, what then happens? Right now, the reason why ASU has been forgotten, nobody really cares, it's just they are just dilly-dally, is because most people don't have their children there. Most of the people that matter really don't have their children there, so the other ones can stay for long. If we have a situation whereby universities are truly autonomous, universities can, for some people, it's okay, what about those who can't pay? The fees that are paid in Nigerian universities today, honestly, to be honest, is nothing to write home about. It's too small. And we have to be honest about it. I've had a lot of them come to me when they increase their school fees. Oh, Aisha, you need to speak on it. I said, look, I can't speak on it because personally for me, I think the fees that are being paid are already too small. There should be, if we have good quality universities that are producing graduates that we can all be proud of, that can stand any test in the world, that will be better than the numbers we are churning out today. At the end of the day, most of the people are not employable. You see a Nigerian graduate cannot even write an application letter for you. And you're wondering, how did you pass through school? So if we have a situation whereby they're truly autonomous, they are independent, good quality education coming out from me, yes, this fees will really go high. Let people don't need to spend money paying for primary and secondary school education. If we had good quality education at that level, let parents save for their children going to university. And then the indigent one can get scholarships, can get school loans, can get, government can give them scholarship, university can also give them a scholarship and all of that. Then we'll begin to have people who truly need to be in the university, be in the university. There are a lot of people, not everyone has to be in the university. There are other places and avenues that people can follow, and then they will be able to do that. But right now, what we have, it's a body that is dependent on the federal government, and then they don't truly want to be autonomous on the issue, and everything is going haywire. And we have a certain kind of selfishness, because most of the people, most of the lecturers that are teaching at the public universities are also the ones who are teaching at the private universities. So they don't feel anything right now. Private universities are on, they're teaching, they're earning their money, they earn double money, they don't care. It's the children of the poor at the end of the day that are suffering. And I think as a nation, really, we need to do something about our education, because the teeming population that we have, and I've said this to severally before, I say, we spend so much money, millions of naira, to send our children to school here in Nigeria and abroad. But guess what? The teeming population of students who have not gotten that education will not allow our children to have the kind of life they're supposed to have. And that's what is happening right now. We see the way where the nation is. So we need to work on that educational system. And I think we need to really sit down and have a conversation on especially the tertiary education and what we're going to do about it. This issue of where somebody is paying, let's say, for example, 30,000 naira or 40,000. 40,000 naira is how much? $100 is about 37. Is that for something? For 47,000. Sometimes the money that people pay in a term is less than $100 in the university. Who does that? And how do we expect to progress in that way? And then meanwhile, where we're supposed to really focus the education, we're not focusing on that. It's something that we have to be pragmatic, and we need to sit down and really have a conversation on our educational system. I think if we had a government who is worth its onion, there should be an emergency declared in the educational system. We need to get it together. And just let me add, even though this is not part of the question, I think we need to get to a place where we understand that there has to be a lost generation. This generation of Nigerians that we say, okay, we made a mistake here. They are not really educated. What can we do? In what way can we help them? And then look at children, for example, from 5 years below, and say, look, we need to provide good quality education from the right from the curriculum, right from the kind of teachers that we put in there. By the way, most people who become teachers in our district are people who don't have the best of results. They are the ones with their 3 credits. They can't get admission to university anywhere. Then they go to teacher training. These are the people we put in our schools, public schools, to teach. So what are they going to teach when they themselves don't know anything? So we need to have a place whereby from 5 years below, we say, look, those children from now on, we're going to focus on their education. We're going to take them on good schools with curriculum change, right kind of people who are teaching. Change, why are they paying people so much money who are working at NNPC? What are they providing when teachers aren't receiving anything? Get good quality teachers, pay them very well, have them in there, let's begin to take this population. Then the other ones that are above, we begin to think, how do we manage them for the betterment of Nigeria? If we don't take care of the educational system in Nigeria, Nigeria is going to implode. It's only a matter of time. And I've consistently said it before, and I'm going to repeat it again, that revolution is imminent in Nigeria. It's either we have a bloodless revolution or a bloody revolution. And bloodless revolution will be done by those of us who are educated, by we changing the systems. Otherwise, we're going to have a bloody revolution where those who are angry, who are hungry, will come at us, and they will not know the difference between those who have been in government and have truncated governance and have been giving them bad governance, and the rest of us who are just citizens who are making demands. Because having a clean shirt or having a mobile phone or living in a good house or having a job will make you a victim. And I hope that what we saw with the recent looting that happened of COVID-19 palliatives and how angry people were, we take that as a sign and begin to work for a great Nigeria. And the way we can do that is to get an educated populace. We have the manpower. We need to get them educated, and by that we'll be able to have the nation that we all want to have. Thank you.
That is a very, very powerful closing statement. Once again, we thank you. I thank all. So we are very grateful that you are able to join us. Nathan, we're able to join us as well. We are grateful to all of you. We're very grateful, and we'll call upon you once again. And we're also for the purposes of students, we'll be developing modules, and we start with Afropolitanism. And the way we structure it is we as professors and students will talk about a certain concept so that if students anywhere in Africa, they are asked about that project, they already have a free avenue to learn about it. Thank you very much. We're very
Thank
grateful.
you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much for joining us.
Thank you for having us. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Baba yetu yetu liye funjina la koweli tukuzwe. Baba yetu yetu